The forest road. The rain had been falling softly for hours, turning the forest road into a mirror that reflected the gray afternoon sky. David Morrison slowed his car as he navigated the winding path through the dense woods, his headlights cutting through the misty air. He was taking the long way home from the office, needing the quiet solitude that only these old country roads could provide. It had been another difficult day of board meetings and difficult decisions. Being the CEO of Morrison Industries meant carrying the weight of thousands of employees' livelihoods on his shoulders. Sometimes, like today, that weight felt almost unbearable. The drive through the forest usually cleared his mind, the towering trees and peaceful silence offering a sanctuary from the corporate world. As his car rounded a gentle curve, David caught sight of something unusual ahead. At first he thought it might be an animal, a deer, perhaps, that had wandered too close to the road. But as he drew nearer, his breath caught in his throat. A woman knelt beneath the massive trunk of an ancient oak tree, her blonde hair falling like a curtain around her face. She wore a white dress that seemed almost ethereal in the filtered light, and she was leaning over something small on the ground. David pulled his car to the side of the road and turned off the engine. The sudden silence was profound, broken only by the gentle patter of rain on leaves and the distant sound of the woman's quiet sobbing. He sat for a moment, unsure whether to approach. Something about the scene felt deeply private, sacred even. But then he heard a sound that made his heart skip, the unmistakable cry of a baby, then another. Two babies, their voices rising together in the cool forest air. David stepped out of his car, his expensive shoes splashing in a puddle as he moved toward the woman. As he got closer, he could see them clearly now, two tiny infants wrapped in soft blue blankets, lying on what appeared to be a clean white sheet spread beneath the tree. The woman's hands hovered over them protectively, even as tears streamed down her cheeks. "Ma'am," David called softly, not wanting to startle her. "Are you all right? Do you need help?" The woman's head snapped up, her eyes wide with fear and something else, shame perhaps, or desperation. She was younger than he had first thought, maybe in her early 20s, with the kind of exhausted beauty that spoke of sleepless nights and impossible choices. "Please," she whispered, her voice barely audible above the rain. "Please don't call anyone. Not yet." David took another careful step closer, his hands raised to show he meant no harm. "What's happening here? Are these your babies?" The woman bare. "More than a girl," Rhea nodded, fresh tears spilling down her cheeks. "Their names are Matthew and Michael," she said, her voice breaking. "They're 3 days old." The babies continued to cry, their small fists waving in the air. David felt something twist in his chest at the sound. "Why are they out here? It's cold and wet. They need to be somewhere warm." "I know," the woman sobbed. "I know they do, but I can't. I don't have anywhere to take them. I don't have anything to give them." David knelt down beside her, ignoring the damp earth soaking through his expensive suit pants. Up close, he could see the babies, more clearly identical twins with pink cheeks and the most perfect tiny features he had ever seen. They were beautiful and helpless, completely dependent on the adults around them for survival. "What's your name?" he asked gently. "Sarah," she replied, wiping her nose with the back of her hand. "Sarah Jenkins." "Sarah, I'm David. Can you tell me what's going on? Maybe we can figure something out together." Sarah's story came out in broken pieces between sobs. She was 19, alone, with no family to turn to. The baby's father had disappeared the moment she told him she was pregnant. She'd been living in her car for the past month, doing odd jobs to buy food. But the babies had come early and she had nothing, no money for diapers or formula, no place to keep them safe and warm. "I thought maybe if I left them here, someone would find them," she whispered. "Someone who could take care of them properly. I can't even take care of myself." David listened without judgment, his heart breaking for this young woman who clearly loved her children but felt she had no other choice. He looked at the twins, who had quieted slightly, their dark eyes seeming to focus on the faces above them. "Sarah," he said quietly, "what if I told you there was another way?" She looked at him with hollow eyes. "What do you mean?" "I mean, what if you didn't have to choose between keeping your babies and making sure they're taken care of? What if there was a way to do both?" David pulled out his phone and made a call. Within minutes, he had arranged for an ambulance to meet them at the forest road, and for a social worker he knew personally to come to the hospital. But more than that, he had made a decision that would change all of their lives. "Sarah," said, taking off his jacket and gently tucking it around the babies, "I want to help you, all of you. I have resources, connections, ways to make sure you and Matthew and Michael have what you need." "Why would you do that?" she asked, her voice filled with disbelief. "You don't even know me." David looked at the twins, then back at their mother. "Because everyone deserves a chance. Because these babies deserve to grow up with their mother if that's what she wants. And because sometimes, when life puts you in the right place at the right time, you have a responsibility to act." The sound of sirens grew closer, echoing through the forest. David helped Sarah gather the babies, wrapping them more securely in their blankets. As the paramedics approached with a stretcher and warm blankets, he made Sarah a promise. "You're not going through this alone anymore," he said. "I'm going to help you find a place to live, help you get on your feet." These boys are going to grow up knowing their mother fought for them. 3 months later, Sarah stood in the doorway of her small but comfortable apartment, watching Matthew and Michael sleep peacefully in their cribs. The morning sun streamed through clean windows, illuminating walls painted a cheerful yellow. On the kitchen counter sat a stack of pamphlets from the community college where she would start classes in the fall. Working toward her nursing degree, David had been true to his word. He had arranged everything: the apartment, childcare, financial support, and most importantly, a sense of hope for the future. But more than that, he had shown Sarah that she was worthy of help, that her love for her children was enough to build on. The twins were thriving, their cheeks round and healthy, their eyes bright with curiosity about the world around them. And Sarah had learned something she never expected, that sometimes the darkest moments can lead to the most beautiful beginnings. As she tucked a soft blanket around each sleeping baby, Sarah whispered a quiet thank you to the forest road that had brought David into their lives, and to the man who had seen past her desperation, to the mother she was meant to be.